Dreams whisper, lost in time. Dreams are all we find. Oh, dreams whisper, oh, dreams sigh. In the darkness, they take flight. Heartbreak echoes, a lonely cry in the cold, hard light. In the shadows where whispers dwell,
1.3.
it's like guitar sings of love's farewell.
10-4, I just wanted to know if
Echoes of the heart once bold, now lost in the night's cold fold.
Yeah, I'll be 23 back on that
Secrets hidden
property
deep
I'll be 76
within,
to the Williams Road address.
tales of love that couldn't win, promises made in moonlight's glow, now broken like a shattered show. Sorrow in the guitar's cry, resilience in the sky. Through the night we'll find our way, carrying secrets, holding on today. Memories of laughter and tears, in the silence they appear, whispers of a time so true, when love was all we knew. Lost in the echoes of the past, wishing for what we had. In the dark we search for light, holding on to what we fight. Through the pain, through the night, we find strength in the fight. Sorrow in the guitar's cry, resilience in the sky. Through the night we'll find our way, carrying secrets, holding on today. Sorrow in the guitar's cry, resilience in the sky. Through the night we'll find our way, carrying secrets, holding on today.
21.
Sorry, a card for a parking problem.
Hey guys, good to see you all. Seeing some of the remarks that Q mentioned here and some others, basically, it wasn't Q, it was actually, let me scan back a little bit. It was, Q had something else to say. Thank you, Q. Good to see you. Geez, I can't find it, but I figured it was. But the gist of it is basically, I'm giving this a shot. He or she was saying, I've been with you for a while, I think is what they were saying, but all on one case. And now there's a level of frustration that everybody feels based on the way that case went. There's probably a sense of justice denied, frustration that the world doesn't want to listen to evidence. The world doesn't want to follow logic. I'm going to try these glasses out. They do help with the glare a little bit. Hopefully it doesn't bother you guys. I hear you. Look, this is a fresh start in some ways for all of us. Now, I did other cases before the Karen Reed case, of course, but those were mostly not live shows. And it is time to move on. Is it worthwhile moving on? Right? That's the question that people are just a cold. Thank you. Yes. Is it worth moving on for you guys as an audience and for me as a producer of these shows? I think it is. Time will tell, right? So let me give an example. Just bring on for a second. I told you I've been working on this project, and it is coming together. So this is the website for the cold case desk, and it's really starting to come together now. And you see the different ways. And the idea about behind this project really comes from the fact that over the last several months, and really since the beginning of this channel, but even over the last several months, even though my channel is small, for some reason, tips come into me. And I remember even just a few months ago, tips were coming into me from something pretty random about videos that I had done over a year before. And that's what we want, because there are people that will come forward to a source like me that might not come forward. They may not come forward to the police right away. They're not sure what to do. They may not trust the police initially, or they're not sure who to go to, or something like that. And it's not that I'm an expert in those things, but they know that I'm going to treat it fairly and I'm going to talk to them honestly. And we'll talk over the phone, and I'll see what's in their best interest, and I'll hear what's on their mind. And I'll try to help them. And if it does seem to me that something that should go to the police, I will encourage them to do that. Ultimately, they have to make that decision. And so it was strange to me that these things were coming forward to me, even though they were cases I hadn't talked about in a while, given that I was mostly just talking about the Karen Reed case. So that told me that if we kept working something together as a team here to build this up, there was actually a chance that people would come forward. And I think that there's a whole bunch of values to it for the families. Another part of the cold case project is the Missing in the USA project. And this is, we want to focus on people that have gone missing. And maybe we'll do, 3 or 4 cases of those on a show. And each one we'll just spend a few minutes on. Unless there's somebody from the family that comes on and wants to talk to us, then it's more of an interview. So it'll be a little bit longer segment. But the idea is that these families really feel sometimes the police are overwhelmed and they can only do so much. And I think that it helps having somebody trying to cover it in an honest, subjective way. And so I think that sometimes, I think there's a value in it. And whether that value, you obviously would share the value, but whether that would make the show interesting enough for you to want to watch it, I can't say. But hopefully we can get to a point where working out that together, we can make that happen. It's going to take a little bit of growth on our part. It's going to take some work. So I've been talking with Jen, and I've been talking with Margaret McLean, and there's different formats that we're going to go to try to make this. We want to make it interesting to people. We want to talk about different topics, but we also want to go into different cases. Do we realistically expect to solve a cold case? Well, if we do it long enough, yes. Not solve it ourselves, but I believe that interesting information, I believe that tips will come forward that eventually we can get them to the police that will help solve a case. And so I think there's a lot of important value to what we're doing. Potentially, there's a lot of potential in this, but we have to obviously make it interesting enough for people to want to listen to. So we're going to work on that formula, but be patient with us. All right, so let me just start right now with the background on this Summer Wells case. And so I made up a little video for this. Oops. All right, that was a Labby video that came earlier. Sorry about that. Let's replace this. This is actually kind of an interesting video. Well, I'm going to save this one to the end. This particular video is Lally reporting something that we had missed before that a friend of mine had picked out, and it's pretty interesting. So we'll come back to that later if you guys remind me. Let me essentially debunking 227. Okay. So this here, I had a video slideshow that I put in video form here. This is Summer Wells. On the left is an aged, an aged version of her that the FBI made. She would be 10 now, but the one on the right is actually her image from the time, 5 years old. So it's been over 5 years since 5-year-old Summer Wells vanished from her rural Tennessee home, leaving behind a trail of questions and a family in anguish. What exactly happened to this bright little girl on June 15th, 2021? So welcome to the first episode of what will be the Cold Case Desk, and we'll also be doing shows like this on Missing in the USA, and we'll have partner channels such as Jen's channel will be with us, and Margaret's channel. And of course, we'll have our friends from Yellow Cottage Tales all the time. So I do have 2 other channels that I'm in that I've launched, but I haven't added shows to it yet, but I will be adding these shows to it. So that's what we're going to go into. Now, the girl's name was Summer Moon Utah Wells, a 5-year-old. You can see blonde hair, blue eyes. She disappeared from her home in Rogersville, Tennessee. She was last seen after reportedly playing in the basement of her family's home in the Beach Creek community. Now, her family notified the police very quickly, I think about an hour after they noticed she was missing, which wasn't long after they'd last seen her. And the police eventually put out an active Amber Alert that remains in place. But I think the Amber Alert went out the next day, but they did start looking for her very quickly. But no significant leads have ever emerged despite extensive searches. Now, these cases are heartwarming to look into. And to be honest, this is really a reason why I didn't initially like true crime. But on the chance that I'm seeing we can make a difference with these cases, I see the potential of it, that I didn't want to follow cases that involve kids. And I'm more interested in following cases from 100 years ago, like Lizzie Borden, because they're long enough ago that you feel distance from it. But because if you want to make a difference, you kind of have to pay attention to some of these more current cases. And I do believe I've had something to offer in the other cases that I have covered, such as the Delphi murders and the Kohlberger case. Insights that I gave before the defendants were even caught that proved to be somewhat useful. All right. So I believe this is fair to call this a cold case, because it's not cold in the sense that the police have stopped looking, but it is cold in the sense that there hasn't been any new evidence in 5 years. So I think I think it's fair to put it that way. Now I'm waiting on Jen Coffenaffer. She's going to get here at some point, and so I'll be able to give her. We'll go over some of the information together. Now, if you have information, you can reach out to me, but I also have the numbers for the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, and it's easy enough to remember. I did want to put this on the screen. I forgot to put that together, but it's 1-800-TBI. So for Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, find. So TBI, find. So if you have information, you can call them. And we do have some people from our audience that are Tennessee based too. So Summer disappeared June 15th. 2021. Earlier in the morning, she had gone to a swimming hole with her mom. Candace Bly is the name of the mother, and her grandmother, and one of her brothers. Now, Summer has 3 brothers. And one of the things that we'll see is those 3 brothers were taken away from the family by child services or the equivalent. However, that happened after Summer's disappearance. And that's something that I've noticed that people are confused about. So obviously what happened there caused a lot of hardship with that family. And we'll go into some of that. And so it is a family that clearly has some problems, but some of the problems were caused by what happened here. And so her three brothers were taken away too. So they've lost, so that family has lost the daughter and now the three brothers for now too. So she went to the watering hole that morning, and then she was reportedly planting flowers with her mother and grandmother near her grandmother's camper. And I do have pictures of all that too. In fact, we'll get that playing now so you can see some of this. This is more of summer here. This is also, let me go back to this a little bit. So this picture on the left shows her with short hair, and possibly the one on the right too. So, one of the things that I learned was that Summer was given a close haircut shortly before she disappeared, but she's in a couple of different outfits here. So either she was given that haircut more than once, or maybe she was, because there was some mystery about when she was given this very short haircut. But it looks to me, since she's in three different outfits here, that maybe it was days before. But just keep that in mind, because that was part of the mystery here, I guess. All right. So Summers goes to the watering. Now that's a reporter with Summers' parents. So Summer goes to the watering hole, and there's her brothers. And this is not her mom, but that's Summer there. That is I think the equivalent of a Sunday school teacher, perhaps, something like that. And all right. So after helping her grandmother plant flowers, and we'll see a picture of that garden. The flowers were in the garden. I think the grandmother lived in a camper right next to the house. Then Summer went off to play in the basement. And I couldn't find, if somebody has any, they can send me any pictures of the basement to see what was in it. We're told there were toys in it. I do have, you'll see in the slideshow pictures of the door to the basement. But, so perhaps she had toys down there. And there were boys there at that time too. So maybe they had a PlayStation, we'll see. I don't know if the boys were home when this happened too. I don't think they were. Candace, the mom had said that she yelled downstairs for Summer a couple of times and didn't get an answer, which was unusual because usually she always answered me. That's according to Candace. And so Candace searched the house. Then she called the neighbors, and then she alerted the father, whose name is Don Wells, who told her to call 911. So they were quick acting there. You'll see from the picture too. I also have a picture of the house on Google Maps. It's very isolated. So the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation issued an endangered child alert, which they upgraded the next day to an Amber Alert. So one of the details in this too is a neighbor. Let me just check and see if Jen popped in yet. Nope. One of these, so a neighbor had reported hearing what she, in quote, a shrill, almost animalistic scream. So shrill, almost animalistic. That's the scream. That's from the quotes, and that was supposedly about an hour before she was reported missing. Is this a lead? Well, according to a trusted member of our group here, Hillbilly Nitro, who lives in Tennessee and who's investigated this case closely, he said no, that there are a lot of reasons to suspect this one particular neighbor for making that up. And you'll see, and I believe that, I believe that's possible. That kind of thing is possible because I've seen this before in other cases. Once a case becomes big, people want to insert themselves. And I guess this neighbor supposedly now has a podcast up about this case too. So there you go. And we saw this in the Karen Reed case, where I suspect Officer Devers she inserted herself into this case by trying to remember Agent Higgins being in the Sally Port for a weirdly long time. This happened in the Lizzie Borden case. Every case that I've looked into that became a big, high-profile case, there are witnesses that come forward with testimony that is dubious. Every single one. No exception. But it's worth asking if you believe that that report is credible from that neighbor. Why wouldn't the grandmother or the mother hear that scream? So somebody's probably not telling the truth there. But based on what Hillbilly Nitro is telling us, I would lean towards, at this point, dismissing the reports of that scream. Um, so the next day, they searched over 3,000 acres of the woods, and let's go to the let's go to the this let's go to the screen on that so you guys can see the size of it. Okay, so here is Google Maps showing the location. We'll put it right in center there. And so if you could, I'm leaving it out this view for a little bit. We'll go a little bit, we'll go as close as we need, but you can see how much woods are here. This little compound is really surrounded by woods. First, their property, can't even quite see where the nearest neighbor is. But then just the whole area. So if a girl was to wander off, she could go pretty far. So let's bring it in a little. Let's zoom in a little closer. All right. Why isn't the zoom feature working the way it's supposed to? I don't know. I'm hitting zoom. Nothing ever works when you're live, right? I'm hitting zoom and it's just showing a zoom thing instead of actually zooming. Ugh. I don't really understand why it's not working, but I don't get it. I apologize. If you can see the little cursor here, I'm actually hitting. You guys know how you've been to Google Maps, right? I'm hitting the little plus minus thing, which should bring it in close, which I did earlier. And for some reason, instead of zooming in close, this little thing flashes on the screen. Zoom. That doesn't help. I don't know. Nothing is really working on this. Let me try to reset it. Nope, does not work. I don't get it. This is why I wish I had a partner here that could be laughing at me right now as I try to figure this out. I'm hitting zoom and it does nothing. Ugh. God damn. All right. Well, so we'll go back to the slideshow. For some reason, that won't work. We'll have to have a backup for that from now on. And now the play won't work on this thing. I can't advance to anything. Oh, seems to be working there. Okay. So this is her father. He was arrested afterwards for drunken driving. This is her mom. And that's the mom too, I believe. So here you have the whole family. So there were three brothers there. I mean, she's obviously a bright, beautiful, energetic little girl. And so whatever happened is a horrible tragedy. So there's a shot of the house. Again, if I could get the Google Maps things to work, I'd be able to zoom in, but it will not work. Trying again. I don't understand it. All right. So there's the house there. I think I have it from a couple other angles too. So I guess that would be the basement. That's not the door that they would enter through. Let me go back a little bit to that. Thank you, Joan. Appreciate it. We're a little rough around the edges tonight. All right. So there's the the basement. I don't know if she went through that door to get into the basement, or we'll see the door from inside the house too. And but no, showing that door there is important. If she was snatched, if she was abducted, could an intruder have gone in there? So through that door while her mom and her grandmother were out working in the yard. Yeah, very plausibly, right? But again, from what I showed you before, it's a very isolated piece of property. Now we also see signs here. This house is pretty decadent. There's debris all over the yard. There's a camper in the back there. I'm not sure if that's her grandmother's camper. Again, you see another sense here. It's a pretty good chunk of property. Now, notice this red vehicle here, because the police had put out, and this is no doubt not the vehicle, because this would have been taken. I'm not sure who took this photo. This would have been taken after the crime was reported. So let's. But there was a red vehicle here that was reported. The police had asked for it. So I mean, there's another example there. I'm not trying to be. All right, she does have a seatbelt on. That's good. All right, I didn't catch that at first. There's another angle from the house, from where somebody could have been watching. This is probably the garden where they were planting. Another angle from the house. Again, a lot of debris out there. Pretty disheveled kind of place. So there's another view of the basement door with the father and Summer in it in the picture. Now somebody has chosen to highlight this here, but anyways, there's a picture of the sink. You can see it's a pretty messy place. So not an ideal environment for any kids to be growing up in anyways. But that doesn't mean the parents are guilty, and we don't know when that picture was taken. That picture could have been taken after things were in disarray. I think that might have been the end of the photos on that. All right. Yeah, I still can't get that Google Maps to work. I guess they've changed something on it. I don't know what's going on. It just won't zoom. Hmm. And I also had an article on this we can go to. No, want me to allow ads. So, I mean, these are obviously pretty dysfunctional people, but that doesn't mean that they're bad people or deserve any part of this tragedy that happened here. And of course, the main thing is whatever happened to that little girl. If there's a chance she's still alive, and there is one, she needs to be found. And if somebody not connected to that family killed this little girl, they need to be brought to justice before they act again. Again, this was the aged photo. It was created by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, it says. I mean, she's an adorable little kid. That might be the basement, is it? No, it's a birthday video. All right. I mean, whatever the kids are going through in that house that's a little bit disheveled, they at least look happy. This, I mean, I know they're smiling for a Christmas photo, but it doesn't, I wouldn't say that it looks like those smiles are being forced on them. So, and that's Don, that's the father. He's been speaking out, I guess, 5 years later. He wants to bring attention to this in the hopes that his daughter's still alive. There's the family with the kids when Summer's still alive, or she may still be alive when Summer's still with them. So I guess it's certainly, if nothing else, it's a sad story. And I got one more article we can go to on that. So again, she does have a short haircut here too. So I think the short haircut was probably something that she commonly had. Um, a poor family, the boys had short haircuts. Maybe this is just something that they did to save money. So the father, Donald, he said he believes Summer was carried down a steep and rugged trail just a few feet away from the house. He said that the search dogs previously picked up Summer's scent on the trail, but lost it near a road. He said he believes someone put his daughter in a car and drove off. I wish we could get that Google map thing to work because we could go in close and look at what that road was like. And the police said that the Donalds' claim that a neighbor heard a scream was unfounded. So this is Hawkins County Sheriff Ronnie Lawson confirmed last month that dogs had a pretty good trail that had tracked for a little while, but then it disappeared. And sometimes canines will lose scent when you get a different type of when they go from, for instance, from gravel to pavement. He said, but he also added that report about the scream was unfounded. So the police obviously didn't consider what that podcaster neighbor had said to be true. So again, it reports here, shortly before Summer's disappearance, her previously chin-length blonde hair was buzzed down to a close crop. But we've seen several photos of her with the short hair. So Summer's parents have never said how soon before her disappearance was her hair cut off. But we've already seen, 3 or 4 photos of her with different clothing on in that short hair. So I'm not sure why that's all that relevant. Her 3 young brothers were removed from the Wells family about 6 weeks after her disappearance. It came after Donald claimed that his house was a dangerous place to be amid a slew of threats being made against him and Candace. So what happened was, is after Summer was taken, apparently there were a whole bunch of threats. This is where the online community can become dangerous, the online true crime community, as people started threatening these people instead of letting the police do their work. And I think there's a role for online sleuths, but when unfortunately people act irresponsibly like that, it becomes dangerous. So he says here, I'm not even sure why he puts it this way, but he goes, I believe that stuff like an idiot. I believed it and I flipped out, started drinking and everything else. And that's why they took our kids. So I don't know what it is that he believed, but obviously he had started hearing stuff online that he believed. He didn't believe himself being the killer. So I don't know what it is that he believed. So Donald Wells and the mom, Candace, had both previously claimed to have taken and passed a lie detector test in relation to Summer's disappearance. Candace reportedly took the test at the district attorney's office on June 20th, 5 days after Summer's disappearance. Donald, the father, claims to have successfully completed the polygraph on June 17th. So is he just making it up? Well, the thing is if he was to just make that up, I think the police would become suspicious of him. So he's probably telling, if not the absolute truth, something close to it. So he probably did take a polygraph somewhere close to that. Did he pass it? I don't know. The police aren't saying anything here. So, and this looks like this came yet again. He was arrested on suspicion of driving under the influence near his home. Donald is facing multiple other charges, including having an open container, violation of financial responsibility, and others. The way this article is written, it's hard to tell if those are old charges connected to when he lost the kids or something newer that it continued. So can't say for sure. All right, guys. So we will just Jen was supposed to be here with me tonight, so she has a lot more knowledge about this case, and we were supposed to discuss that. So since she's not here, we're just going to call it a night, and we'll try to improve the format of this stuff and try to bring it back together and bring it more interesting to you. And we'll be back soon. Okay, thanks, guys.